of Project Naveli, a non-profit initiative working towards providing women with resources and opportunities to allow social and economic change. More power to you, girl. Can we have a huge round of applause for Navya? The fourth panelist, ladies and gentlemen, this evening is none other than our very own Anand Goenka. Anand is the vice chairman of RPG group companies SIAT and GENZ. He was recently the managing director of SIAT from 2012 till March 2023. Prior to this, Anand worked in KEC International and Hindustan Unilever. Anand has been recognized by Forbes as the next generation business leader of the year in 2017 and as India's 40 under 40 business leaders by Economic Times Spencer Stuart. That's not all. In 2017, Anand led SIAT to win the Deming Prize, one of the prestigious Global Quality Awards in the world. Under his leadership, SIAT became the first tire company in the world to achieve the Lighthouse designation by the World Economic Forum. Anand is an economics graduate from the Wharton School University of Pennsylvania and an MBA from the Kellogg School of Management. Can we have a huge round of applause for Anand? And last but not the least, I would now like to invite the man who will be comparing our panel, Nikhil Taneja, who is the co-founder of Yuva, a youth media organization and a platform that is dedicated to the empowerment of young Indian. Well, Nikhil is a Mumbai-based writer, producer, storyteller, entrepreneur, youth mental health advocate. Oh my God, Nikhil, I'm already tired reading this, but amazing. Nikhil has been responsible for some of the biggest hits in the digital space at Y Films, the youth wing of India's.
Have a round of applause for the people over here. We are going to talk about cracking the happiness code. So I think I'm going to start with a very easy one. In one line, what does happiness mean to all of you? Very easy. How can you bring your happiness philosophy in one line? I think we'll start with Navya because she just told me that she wants to answer first.
I actually said the opposite, but thank you. And that's not an easy question. That's a very existential question you've asked me. But I don't know if I can sum it up in a sentence. I'll say it in a word. Happiness for me is my family.
That's a good one. That's a really lovely one. Shreyas?
Well, I am a little longer than this, but happiness for me is the journey of self-awareness, continuously learning, evolving, and embracing the growth that comes from your life's experiences.
So well said, so well said. Shreyas, if I may ask, are you doing better now? How are you feeling? How's your back right now?
Back, yeah, I'm recuperating well. For the last few months, I was struggling a bit, but now I've reached the stage where I feel extremely comfortable. I can travel well, and yeah, I've started batting as well, so it's a great news.
We are all rooting for you. Can we have a round of applause for one of India's premium cricketers? We're all cheering for you. I really hope to see you back on the pitch again.
Thank you so much.
Niharika, in one line, what is happiness?
I feel like if I was really happy, I would know exactly how to answer it. But I think we all want to be happy, and I love how he simplified it in one question and asked, like, we don't spend our entire lifetimes trying to figure it out. So I guess happiness is something I want, happy is something I want to be. So I'm going to work towards it. So just watch my videos so I get happy. Thanks.
Well said. Anand?
To me, happiness is peace of mind.
I think this is something for all the younger folks, I think, to take away. I think this is a Zen philosophy. Thank you so much. Peace of mind. I think fantastic answers from everyone.
They all said such cute things, so I just want to change my answer to everything they said. Ditto.
Anand, I think I'm going to start the panel with you because, of course, RPG's company tagline is Hello Happiness. Why is happiness so important to you as a company? That's not something you see in the typical philosophy. You're always talking about revenue, profits, growth. And suddenly there's this company and this group, which has obviously been a legacy brand. We've heard so much and all of us respect it. Why has been happiness such an important part of your group and your brand and your philosophy?
Yeah, I'd say for us, happiness is very much embedded even in our vision statement. So it says our vision is to unleash talent, touch lives, outperform, and be happy. So that's really, it's embedded in really our core in terms of our beliefs. But why happiness, I'd say, is that we feel that if our people are happy, customers will be happy. We feel that it'll result in better retention, better productivity, and eventually lead to growth and profitability and so on, all the financial metrics. But I think the core starts from happiness. In fact, internally, we've also spoken about, what does happiness lead to success or does success lead to happiness? And we felt that success leads to happiness only for a short period of time. But if you can internally be happy and the outcomes of living a balanced life or being more meaningful and purposeful will make you more successful. So we feel happiness leads to success.
That's so well said, and I hope, like, honestly, can you have a round of applause? Because I hope there are more corporates that think this way. And I think one of the things, one of the great joys for us to work with, as you are to work with RPG, has been learning that these commandments that we have released today in the research report have been a core part of your group's philosophy and policies. Actionable policies since so long. So congratulations to you and everyone over here who's worked toward making this happen. Niharika, I'll come to you, and I know that I've heard you talk about happiness in a very existential manner before. But I think one of the things that I do recognize is that it's not easy being a content creator. It's very demanding. It's obviously there are lots and lots of challenges on a day-to-day basis that you face, and especially as a young person, it cannot be easy. And you've just said earlier, you want to be happy. How do you balance this idea of, what is the pursuit of happiness with these daily stresses and demands of being a Gen Z content creator?
I don't think it's any different just because you're Gen Z. But as a content creator that does comedy, I think most of my job is rooted in me being happy, which is not all the time. So like it's tied to my job and my money. So then I remind myself that you need to be happy today because we need to make money, But jokes apart, I think for me, for the longest time in my life, I measured happiness in terms of success. I would equate it to what the next big thing is or the next big goal is until I couldn't do it anymore. I actually started creating content when I was 18 and I did really well for an 18-year-old. I was the most popular kid in college. I had a blue tick before blue ticks were even a thing, guys. Like you need to know. Like no, it gets sad. It gets sad. Hold on. So I thought I was really like killing it, right? Like I thought I made it. And I was a college student where my classmates were taking pictures with me. Now imagine how much that'll get to your head. And then it hit a point where I just didn't know why I was doing what I was doing anymore. I did it for the passion in the beginning, and then it just became for the fame and the numbers, and I couldn't do it anymore, and it didn't make me happy, so I quit. And I did a double master's, and I realized that made me sad. So then I stopped. I didn't stop. I finished it because my parents said they would get me married if I didn't finish it. So I was like, okay, I will do it. I'm a South Indian, if you couldn't tell. So I did whatever they asked me to do, and now I'm happy because my parents are happy. And that's how I get through every single day, by keeping them happy, but also just in smaller things. I don't equate happiness to goals and numbers and anything that you can quantify anymore. I'm going to be so Pinteresty and cliche right now. I find happiness in like the tiniest things. When my dog says hi to me first and not my brother, yes, that's a win. I'm the favorite, And I know I'm my parents' favorite, so I'm happy. My brother's not, so yeah.
Thank you for the very real answer, as usual, Niharika. I hope one of the little things that makes you happy is also being on a stage with such cool people.
Actually, I am such an anxious person that this is my nightmare, being in public, which is why I make videos behind closed doors. Comedy ones. Get your minds out of the gutter. So it's just, this is like, you need to laugh here so I don't get an anxiety attack.
Please laugh.
Oh my
Everyone.
gosh, Niharika, you're so funny. Thank you. Please ask someone else. Thank you.
I think we are talking about pressures and stresses. I think Shreyas, naturally that comes to you. Being a cricketer for the Indian cricket team, it's such a public and such a high stress environment. Of course, we know that you've gone through injury as well. how do you, as a sports person, as an athlete that everyone is looking at day in and day out and looking up to, so to speak, how do you manage to prioritize your happiness? And does that have an impact towards the performance that you give, in the matches?
See, in our country, fans are definitely passionate about their sports, and whenever they come to see the match, they want their team to win. So obviously, the pressure is always going to be there if you play on the field or you step out of the field. But as they say, when you work and if you enjoy your work, it doesn't feel like working. So that's the mantra which I follow, and I love what I do. Whenever I step onto the field, I enjoy that moment. Whenever I see, the stadium is filled with crowd and it's bustling, the atmosphere is electrifying, and that's what gives me a goosebump. And I just want to go out there and give my best to all of them. So whenever I perform on the field, I see to it that I give 110%. I try to leave no stone unturned, and also my preparation is something like I try to follow a certain kind of routine. I try to repeat it as long as possible. So I try to maintain a kind of discipline. And you see, when you do all these things right, you're not worried about the pressure and the outcomes, to be honest. You just want to focus on what's there on your plate rather than, distracting your mind about what other players are doing or what other teams are planning against you. So, hence, just to, long story short, I just like to, in between the matches, unwind, rejuvenate, relax. Keep that calm and demeanor kind of, mentality, which helps me to focus more. And it kind of motivates me as well. So whenever I step back onto the field, I'm refreshed and I'm ready to roar.
Can we have a round of applause for him? He's been clapping for everybody who speaks on stage. Yeah, he's been like, yeah, absolutely.
There was a happiness in that answer, and suddenly you come to pressure. So, yeah.
No, no, because you mentioned rejuvenation, so let me ask you, what is the way in between matches, as you said, you chill your downtime, which is your favorite activity that makes you happy?
Spending time with family.
I love everyone on this stage. I think everyone, give a round of applause. What a sweet bunch of people over here.
Because we crave for that meeting. We are constantly on the, on the field and traveling around. And in between we get that space to come and spend some time with family and friends, obviously. So yeah, that's how I rejuvenate.
That's really sweet, Shreyas. Thank you so much for that answer. Navya, of course, we've shared a bunch of stages having these conversations, so I know you're a pro at them. A lot of people may not even know that you started your first company at 21, which was only 4 years ago, of course. But you worked across various sectors and on social impact aimed at women and at young people. And again, I know that this is a question that is asked to you a lot, but of course, as someone who has had privilege and the opportunity to do anything, why is it that working on social impact and empowering other young people, and especially women, why does that make you happy?
You're really asking me all the really difficult questions. But I'm going to steal something you've been saying to me for the last 1 month, is that I think we have a responsibility to leave society better than we got it. And I think I'm trying to play my part in doing that. But I think when you talk about privilege, I think, I was blessed to be given a lot growing up. And I think even for me to be able to start a company at 21 is something, that only happened because of, maybe the support that I got from my family, or the fact that, maybe I had certain advantages. And I think accepting that is a big aspect of that, is understanding that you were given a lot of opportunities that a lot of people don't get at that age. And so to use those opportunities responsibly is something that at least my family has brought me up to believe in. And I also actually graduated in COVID, and we were just talking about that earlier. And I think that a lot of organizations and companies and startups that started post-COVID, suddenly became geared towards not just chasing profits or metrics, but also, what their consumer was feeling at the end of the day. It was more impact-driven, more impact-centric. We wanted to actually, either work towards climate change or impact people's lives. And I think I was also one of those people, because I started my company during COVID in the middle of the lockdown. And I think that at that time, everyone's mind was on how can we help. I think it didn't even have to be on a larger scale. It was just how can we help even one individual person, because of what the climate was like at the time. And so I think that was where the sentiment for just wanting to help and do something, and share a lot of the opportunities and resources that I was given so that a lot of other people can do the same with their time and their, intelligence. And we have, of course, this report is about Gen Z, and I really think that our generation has so much talent, and not enough opportunities to, perform or to use those abilities. And I was just trying to see if I could create a platform that would allow that to happen.
Yeah, I really admire you for all of this. I think Project Naveli has been doing a wonderful job. I see only Shreyas clapping at the end of every answer. Please, he's been rooting for every one of us. We
Yeah.
all need to root also for the people
It's
on
such
the
a great
stage.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
it's
It's
such a
such a
lovely
great
answer.
feeling. No matter what you say, he's going to clap.
Yeah,
for
Shreyas
you.
is, I'm rooting for you all as well.
Just makes you feel that someone is listening.
Yes, thank you.
That's come on. See, your team is clapping. They've got the brief. The rest of you also now need to catch up. Um, so, I mean, I continue with you, Navya, because you mentioned the workplace. I think we were talking about happiness at the workplace. There is obviously this understanding that Gen Zs and young people in general are conditioned to hustle a lot. That word has been thrown around a lot, right? And most young people now today are speaking up about their mental health at the workplaces. They're speaking about how difficult it is sometimes for them to work in environments where they're forced to work longer. There's no work-life balance, etc. As a young entrepreneur who also leads a team of young people, do you have can you give us an understanding of how you ensure a positive workplace and positive work environment? Any tips that you may have for the rest of them? But would love to hear your learnings, and as well as just if you would like to pass them on to others.
I think firstly, I'm sitting in a room full of very distinguished people, so I don't know what tips I'm going to give them. But from the last 3 years of my experience of running a team, I think something I learned to do is be an empathetic leader. I think we need more empathy in the workplace. And I think leaders often believe that, your team is working for you, but I think they work with you. It's not something that, you're above. Or I don't think, like you say, hierarchy has anything to do with respect. I think every member of your team should be given respect, equal respect, no matter what designation they have. And something, at least I think in the beginning, at least being a woman in the workplace and then being a young person in the workplace, I felt I had to be very assertive. In the way that I was doing my business or in the way I was doing work. I had to be very in control, and that's not the reality. As human beings, we can't always be in control. And I think I learned very quickly that the only way that I would create a happy or, just a positive work culture was if I was empathetic and if I was able to express my good days, but also my bad days. If I was able to express things that, I was not sure of, if I didn't know how to do. And I think that what created a really nice culture with the team, because they felt that they had the transparency to come and tell me things, when they aren't feeling the best or when they aren't having the best days. And I think that's really what we've tried to do, is just be empathetic to each other and, despite designations or hierarchy. And I think that that's just worked really well for us. And we have a very positive work environment where that if you're not doing well on a particular day, someone else is going to be there for you. Like Shreyas has been clapping for everyone, that you have a team of people who will be there to lift you up if you're not feeling the best. And I think it's equally important for leaders to understand that you can't always be in control, you can't always be in power. And I think that your vulnerability and your humanity at the end of the day is what's going to make other people actually, value that more. And it just creates a really nice cycle of happy people in the workplace.
So well said, so well said. First time everyone's clapped before Shreyas, so I like that. I appreciate it. I just want to reiterate, I think it's such an important point, right? I think some of the research also and the report also brought this up. We saw that about 61 to 64% people are actually saying that they would rather value a mental health positive workplace or a flexible work environment even more than perhaps their salaries. As we've gone on campuses now on ground, and we're hearing this with young people, we're hearing them speak up and say that we care about, our us at the workplace as much as we care about the work at the workplace. So thank you for bringing that in. I would, Niharika, again, as the other Gen Z on this stage, uh, I've spoken about advice, but I know that a lot of young people today are choosing alternate careers like yours. I don't even know if content creation today or being a digital creator is an alternate career at this point with 10 million, I think, and more people wanting to take this up. What kind of an advice would you give to any young person from something you have learned, from the mistakes that you may have made or the hard work that you've done to come here? What advice would you like to give other young people on how do you maintain your happiness and well-being while being creators or just working in alternate professions outside of the typical workplace?
I think social media can be extremely enticing, and you look at it and you're like, oh my god, this is so amazing, we should do this. But it's just everybody's highlight reel, guys. You really don't see what is going behind it. I'm not saying, oh, it's so difficult. I'm just saying there's the ugly also. I think for me, I graduated 6 months ago, and even 6 months ago, I wasn't ready to like not take up a job because it's a very unstable career. I'm one of the top creators today, tomorrow it's someone else. And the entertainment industry has a shelf life, especially for women. And I'm very aware of it, which is why don't quit your job. If you have a stable 9 to 5, it's good to have stability. Do this on the side until the paycheck that comes from this is, way higher or makes you feel financially stable and comfortable. I don't think you should leave it for the glitz and the glam because you're relevant today, you're not tomorrow. What are you going to eat? Flashes and cameras? No, you need money, right? So I think when you do social media, you have to be very sensible. I just don't think you should jump into it. A lot of creators are like, oh my God, do social media, do it. But to get the kind of money that you get once you're at the top, you'll have a lot of years where you make absolutely no money on social media and nobody's watching you. Will you still make those videos if you're not making money and nobody's watching you? If your answer is no, you're not social media creator is not your passion. Make videos that you want to make on the side. Once it starts bringing you money, do it as a job. That's it. That's my 2 cents because I wouldn't leave a financially stable space to follow a passion that I don't even know what it would take me to, Be passionate, don't be stupid, basically.
Nicely put. Yeah, I think a lot of these things we don't even understand. I think it's they're the Gen Zs and young people are the first generation that is actually living through this. So their kind of history in as it is being formed. So it's important to have this kind of context. So thank you for providing that. We're talking about workplaces. We've spoken about pressure, external pressure, Shreyas. But as a Team India cricketer, I would imagine that it was something that you would want to do when growing up. Now you're here, there are also expectations you have from yourself. And we hear a lot of young people putting that very hard pressure on themselves to be performing all the time, to be kind of making sure that they're always succeeding, which is not possible, obviously, right? As a batsman, there are times you get out earlier, there are times you, so to speak, fail. How do you deal with your own expectations when, failure happens in such a public sphere?
Yeah, that's a beautiful question, and I feel in every walks of life right now, coming from social media or corporate life, me as a cricketer, sportsman, all of us we strive for success, and we want to achieve something and make sure that we get somewhere in our life. And obviously, there is going to be pressure in every step that you take, but for me, pressure is an integral part of my business. I feel if pressure is not there, I won't enjoy. And when pressure is there, there is a lot of competition, and competition creates opportunities, and opportunities will take you somewhere if you click at the right time. But I see to it that I take this opportunity of pressure and I try to channel it to my motivation and focus. So that's how I cope up with pressure. And talking about expectations, obviously, I feel that whenever I walk on the street now, I'll like to give an example over here. Whenever I walk on the street, especially after my training, there are people standing outside the gate of the stadium and they want to take pictures. And I always stop and they ask me, keep asking me, kabhi aa rahe ho aap wapas khelne ke liye? कितना time लगेगा आपको fit होने? Because for last few months, I have been just rehabbing and I don't know myself when I'll be back. But I've been grinding and going through this phase pretty strong because the pressure is always there and the expectation is there from people for you to come and perform and see to it that you're consistently playing for your country. And I have that thing at the back of my mind, but I know personally how to cope with it. It might differ for someone else. Whatever suits me, it doesn't suit anyone over here. You might get your own mantra and own thought process to deal with such aspects. For me, this is working, and that's what I love to follow personally. So, yeah, and also in between, as I mentioned previously, I love to practice mindfulness, where I do meditation, where I try to find some peace, which makes me happy.